Hey, thank you for joining me. All right, we're going to have another fun Tuesday evening, and let's get started. Again, my whole goal here every Tuesday is to get you one step closer to being a commercial real estate owner. Okay, so to demystify any complexities that you have or any beliefs that you have that you can't do this. My job is to share with you that you can do this. Okay, so do me a favor. Uh, in the chat, put in where you're from. All right. So I can see Charles from Houston. All right. Hey, Charles, I have Ruined. All right. Who else? I have Boston, Florida. Okay. Houston, Silicon Valley. All right. Where I am. Janet. I have Palm Springs. I'm Maryland, Detroit, Louisville, Kentucky. Los Angeles, Sean in North Virginia, Sabrina in North Carolina, Derek in South Carolina. All right. Bay Area, Janai from Bay Area. I saw someone from Nashville, another Houston, more in Philadelphia. All right. Sacramento. All right. It's hot up there, right? In Sacramento today. I just checked the weather. We're due up there in a couple of days. All right, Donald. All right, Virginia Beach, Lee from DC, Indianapolis, Festus. There we go. Leon from Georgia. All right, so we are covering the entire span of America. That's awesome. All right, so without further ado, we're going to get started. And what I'm going to start with this is that you all know that I am big on knowing your why. That's so important, right? Your why will drive you, right? If your why is weak, then your how is weak, right? So every time someone comes in a program, I get to ask them what their why is, right? I want to pull the why out from them so I can keep them motivated on what they have to look forward to if you can keep your why in front of you, okay? And for example, my why long time ago when I was a single parent, my why was to make sure that my ex-wife couldn't take back my son that the judge gave me custody for. The judge pretty much said, Peter, if you mess up, your ex-wife is taking him, right? And she told me you will never see him again. So I make sure that I take care of business. That was my why. Whatever I did was to make sure that the household was good, he was provided for, school was good, everything's taken care of. And as I got older, like today, right? Today, I have more whys, right? One why I have today is my wife, right? So my wife is my helper. And if you look in the Bible, the Greek word for helper, I think is called Ezer, right? Ezer means ally or warrior alongside you, right? That's what my wife is. And she's just an awesome wife. So I work hard for her, right? To make sure I do my part and making sure she's good. So, what's your why, right? So before you tell me your why, what I want to do is, again, I get to talk with students that come into our program and I get to ask them, what is your why? Why are you here? Why did you sign up for this program? And what I did was I compiled a list of their whys, right? And I want to share those with you, okay? Now, I really believe that when your why is powerful, right, and is really meaningful to you, the how-to shows up, okay? So what I want to do as I go through my top 10 of our student whys, type in the word in the chat, me, okay? If you can relate to any of these whys that I'm going to share with you, type in the word me. Okay, I'm going to go through these 10. Okay, the first one, now these are not in order priority. I just pulled out the 10 I can get from the file. Okay, right, here's the first why. I'm tired of working harder every year and feeling like I'm falling behind. So that's you, put in me. Here's number 2. I don't want my family's future depending only on one paycheck. Oh boy, I can relate to that as a single parent, right? Number 3, I realize saving money alone is not going to get me where I want to go, right? Anyone can relate to that, right? Number 4, I want to stop hoping the economy works out and start owning something that gives me control, okay? Control, Okay. Number 5. So any of those, put in me, right? Number 5. I'm tired of watching other people build wealth while I keep waiting for the perfect time. You always hear me say there's no perfect time. Okay. All right. Number 6. I need a real plan for retirement, not just a dream that someday things will be okay. To me, when the students come in our program, that's at the top, right? That's at the top. They'll say, Peter, I need to catch up on my retirement. Or sometimes they say, Peter, I have nothing saved for retirement. So, help me, right? So that's a powerful why. So that's you, type in me. Number 7, I want to create something my family can benefit from long after I'm gone. That's probably number 2 for folks coming in our program. Okay. Number 8, I've worked too hard to still feel this uncertain about money. That's probably every student that comes in our program, right? Number 9, I don't want to look back 5 years from now and realize fear kept me in the same place. That's probably everyone out here, right? So again, if you can relate to any of those, type in me. And here's the last one. This last one is this why is has to do with our guest tonight, okay? Who's amazing, by the way. Okay. His why is this. I'm at the point in life where I need income that doesn't require me to trade more hours for it. So who out there is trading time for money out there? Who out there is doing that? If that's you, type in me. All right. So I can see a lot of you have typed in me. You can relate to this. Again, these are our general population of our students. I just picked 10 of them. There's more whys, but if you can relate to this, type in the word me. Now, the question I have for you is, what's the risk of knowing your why and then doing nothing? What is the risk, right? Here's the risk, right? Number 1 is regret. That's the risk. Dependence is number 2. Uncertainty. How about being trapped, right? How about being powerless? And lastly, exhaustion, right? That is the risk that you play, right? That you play with if you don't do anything. So as I mentioned before, when the why is powerful and then the how shows up. So tonight, I'm giving you the solution. Tonight, I'm giving you the how-to. And the how-to, ladies and gentlemen, is commercial real estate. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so I'm going to start with my favorite. And I like what Miguel says. Miguel says, it's better to have tried and failed than to never have tried at all. Amen, Miguel. Amen. All right. Okay. All right. And someone is being very honest. Yohama is saying afraid and procrastinating. Okay. Thank you for being so honest, Yohama. That's why you're here, right? This is what mentoring does for you. I was the same way as an engineer. I was afraid and procrastinating. Huge. Until someone spoke into my life, right? So later on tonight, I will give you an opportunity to be mentored so you can get past that, Yohama. And anyone else suffering from fear and procrastination, we are here to help you. Okay. All right. Okay, let's get started. We'll start off with polls. And again, I like to do polls because it kind of sets the tone of what I want to share with, right? Just in case I'm missing something, this really helps me. Okay, so I'm going to turn this poll on here. There we go. Here's the first poll. If your children or family watch the way you work today, what lesson do you think they would learn? Number 1, hard work matters, but it can consume you. Number 2, providing for family often comes with sacrifice. Number 3, ownership creates more freedom than just earning income. Or the last one, I want them to learn a better way than the one I'm living now. Okay, these are all heartfelt, emotional questions here. Give me the answer. I'd like to see what the answer is. All right. Okay, leading the way, and as I thought, leading the way is I want them to learn a better way than the one I'm living now. Okay, and this is why we're having these Tuesday nights, for you guys to learn something, and then you have to apply it, right? You have to apply it. We can teach you how to apply it and change your life. Okay, so Yeah, that last one, I want to learn a better way, them to learn a better way than the one I'm living now. That's leading by far. That's 58%. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. All right. Okay. And here's the second one here. All right, here it is. There it is. Let me launch this poll here. Here it is right here. What worries you most about staying in the same path or staying on the same path for the next 5 to 10 years? Okay. My health may pay the price, which is our one of our guests. Our guest today is going to share that with you. That was him. Number 2, my family may get the leftovers of me. I raised my hand there. That used to be me. Number 3, I may still be working this hard for nothing real to show for it. Okay, it's kind of sad. And then the last one, I may miss the chance to build something lasting. All right, so put your answers in there. All right, so let's see. All right, so again, 57% has answered, I may miss the chance to build something lasting. All right, so thank you for that. Someone says the poll disappeared, so no problem. So I really wanted to hear from that. All right, and I'm going to relaunch it. I'm not sure why it disappeared, but there it is right there. Okay, so I may miss the chance to build something lasting was leading the charge. All right, and that's right now 70% is leading the way. And number 2 is I may still be working this hard with nothing real to show for it, but by far I may miss the chance to build something lasting. Okay, very powerful. Thank you for admitting that and being transparent tonight. Yeah, that is so true. Okay, so and this is why we're having Tuesday nights, so you won't miss the chance to build something lasting. Okay, commercial real estate is wonderful, and it takes time. Right? So if someone tells you you can build, retirement in 1 year, they're totally lying to you. It takes years to build, right? Years of work, but it is totally worth it because your whole family and family's lines, family legacies can be completely changed with the right deal. Sometimes even just one deal. Okay. All right. So that's I'm going to end the poll there. Okay, great. Thanks everyone for participating there. All right. All right. Okay. And okay, I'm going to end the poll there. Okay. So tonight, what I want to share with you is something right in line with what we just talked about here. And I'm going to share this with you. Oh, I need to do that first. Share the screen. All right. And from current slide. All right. And let it hit there. Okay, from current slide. There we go. All right. Okay. Michael, how am I looking there? Okay.
Looking good.
Okay, thank you. All right. Some of you all are saying, Peter, this isn't live. This is live. I'm having issues right now, technically, and I have the most amazing team behind me, making sure the tech is dialed in. So thank you, Michael. All right. So I'm going to start off with this. The title of today is $1 million property 90 days. I'll share with you the student that did just that. Okay. He's backstage waiting to share with you. And it says the strategic owner-occupant method. Okay. Buy commercial property and work or live for free. Yes, that is possible. And I will explain to you what that is. Okay. All right. So here's Will. He set a goal, right? $1 million property in 90 days. When he signed up, that's what he told me. And guess what? Will accomplished it. 90 days and $1 million. And Will was what we call the strategic owner-occupant method. All right. What does that mean? Here's what that means. Okay. It's a commercial word for hacking, right? You all know what the house hack is, right? Look at the left side of the screen. The house hack is you live in one room and you rent the others, okay? In commercial, we do the same thing, except we don't use the word hack, right? We use a commercial owner-occupant. You're the owner and you occupy part of the property, where the tenants help you pay the rent and the expenses. They pay the expenses. Your business occupies one unit, And so the benefits are huge. You get control over property, you get the cash flow, you get the tax write-offs. Our guest will share with you how in the first year he saved $44,000 in taxes, okay, with not such a big property, okay? And then also you get the equity growth. This is where true wealth is made, is with the equity growth, okay? So basically you're stopping building someone else's wealth when you do this. All right, so that's what it is. All right, so now put this into the chat here. I want to hear from you all out there. Enter one if you have ever house hacked. Have you ever hacked a house? Put in one. Or number two, if any of you out there, enter two if you own a business and are renting a space for it. All right, put it in the chat here. I'd like to see that. All right, so we have a lot of ones. Oh, we have several twos. All right. Okay, great. A lot of ones. Someone says not yet. Great. That's why you're here. All right. Okay. A lot of ones. So yeah. And quite a few twos. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So for those of you that entered one and those of you that entered two, you're in the right spot tonight. Okay. All right. Even if you own nothing tonight, you're in the right spot. All right. So my question to myself, maybe to you, is this like the commercial dream setup, right? When you become the owner occupant, when you hack a commercial property, you get to move in, you choose to pay rent or not, right? You get the appreciation, you get the tax write-offs, you get to pay yourself, and you stop building someone's wealth. To me, that's the dream, okay? And our guest tonight is doing just that. And he's going to share with you his entire story, right? But guess what? You can also do this with multifamily, okay? Doesn't have to be an office building or anything else, all right? So here's how it works. Turn your attention to the left-hand side of the screen. This is an apartment building, a 5-unit property. You can live in one and you can rent out the others, okay? So that's owner-occupant. You can do that. Now, I'm going to give you a starter option. Look in the right-hand side of the screen. You can also be an owner-occupant of a 2 to 4 unit multifamily property, okay? Some of you may know this. If you don't, surprise, surprise tonight. So if you have a 2 to 4 unit, you can use an FHA loan with 3.5% down, okay? Or if you want to use a VA loan, you can do 0% down, okay? And the one rule, if we look at the bottom of the screen, the rule is you need to move into one unit as a primary residence for at least 12 months. So you have to live there for 12 months. So don't just do this and not live in there. You're breaking the rules, and that's like loan fraud, right? You don't want to do that. So you have to live in one, right? And but those of you that are interested in doing any of this, the math has to work out. And a lot of times the math doesn't work out. So not every property this will apply to, right? So we can show you how to make the math work on a property like this, because your goal, again, is to get two things. You want three things. You want to get cash flow, you want to get appreciation, and you want to get tax benefits. If you do it on the wrong property, you get none of it. All right. So, all right. Now, all right. Okay. All right. Oh, look at this. Someone, Carol, saying no desire to live with my tenants except the business office. Exactly, Carol. And we're going to share that with you tonight. This is exactly what our students are doing. Okay. Now, if you want to scale with your multifamily, right, you can sacrifice a year by living in one, and then you can scale to retirement. You can scale to financial freedom. Here's how this looks, right? I'll keep it very simple for you. I turned a half-hour presentation into one slide, right? So you're going to buy a fourplex with a VA loan, the FHA loan, low down payment. You're going to buy a great deal. So you're going to buy it priced under market, okay, in an appreciating area. It's going to build up in value over time. Step two is you're going to sell it and you're going to 1031 exchange into a larger property like a 12 unit. Okay. I'm saying all this because we've done this. Okay. And then step three, you're going to refinance the 12 unit. Then you're going to buy an 18 unit. And then you're going to increase the rents, let it ride for a while. Then you're going to sell this 18 unit and you're going to buy a 40 unit property. Okay. And guess what? This is not happening overnight, folks. As I mentioned, commercial takes time. This will take years. But the big question is, but where would you be if you took no action? Okay. You can say, hey, Peter, this is a great plan. But my question to you is, let's get started. Okay. Let's do this on the fourplex. Let's do this on the fiveplex so we can get to step 4. Okay. But if you take no action today, by 2030, you'll be exactly where you are today. Okay. Where you don't want to be. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to share this with you here. All right. And who's this guy? Everyone knows who this guy is, right? That's Arnold, right? That is Arnold, right? And why am I showing Arnold? So before he became famous, and while he was being famous, guess what he did? Arnold started small. Arnold hacked a 6-unit property. Arnold was a owner-occupant long time ago, and now he has a $300 million portfolio. Here's what he did. He bought a 6-unit in Santa Monica for $240,000. He actually borrowed the money, okay? $27,500 down. He lived in one unit and rented out the others, right? And then he did this so he can support himself as a bodybuilder. He was living, one event to the next. He eventually sold it for $400,000, traded up and kept scaling through what? 1031 exchanges, right? 1031 exchanges allows you to sell a property. Then when you sell it and you buy a larger one, you don't have to pay taxes on it. The taxes are deferred. He kept doing this until, look where he's at now, $300 million portfolio, okay? So if Arnold can do it, you can do it too, all right? I did it, all right? So the key is he got started. My key was I got started, okay? I got started with a really small property. You can do the same, okay? All right, okay. So now I'm going to make a shift and teach something to you, okay? There is a story to every deal. Pay very close attention to this. I always have one slide out of this presentation that I really, really want you to get. And if you leave nothing if you get something from today, right? This is what I want you to get today, okay? There is a story to every deal. Every commercial real estate deal has multiple stories. And the better you understand the stories, the better the deal you can create, okay? So every deal has this, the seller has a story, okay? The property has a story, and the buyer, that's you, has a story. And the more of the story you get, the better the deal you end up with. Now, if you come across a deal and there is no story, like most on LoopNet, right? Most on the MLS, don't buy it. Your deal needs to have a story. If it doesn't have a story, most likely it is not a good deal. So you need to find out what that story is. I'm going to share with you how to find that story. But first, let me ask you this. Which story is the most important to get? Okay, which story? Okay, the seller story, the property story, or your story? Put in the chat. Which one is the most important? Okay. All right, I have Michael, Ben, all right, Patrice, Laura, Keith. All right, I'm halfway between seller, 50% saying seller, 50% saying story. All right, okay, all right. Okay, yeah, keep the answers coming. Interesting, interesting. Okay, all right, the seller. Okay, now the seller's starting to win here. Let me give you the answer. Here's the answer. The seller story drives the deal, okay? The seller story drives the deal. And here are the 2 questions you must ask, okay? 2 questions whenever you're dealing with the seller directly. Now, not as easy as I'm saying, talk to seller directly. You have to learn how to find off-market deals like we do. But when you do, here's the first question. You're going to ask the seller, why are you selling this property and why now? Okay. And number 2, what are you planning to do once you sell? Those 2 questions give you a whole lot of information that allow you to structure the story. Okay. When he shares with you why he's selling, you need to store that in your brain and give that answer to your coach. when he tells you what he's planning to do with the proceeds once he sells, store that, write it down, give it to your coach. All right. Because what we do is we take the seller story and we reverse engineer it back into the offer. Okay. So we structure the deal around the seller's motivation. Okay. So, of course, we can have another Tuesday night to talk about that, but that's what coaching is about. I don't expect you to know how to do that. That's what we do. We need you to get the story for us so we can tell you how to make money from the deal. Okay. That's what we do. That's how all of our coaches and myself are trained. Okay. All right. All right. So yeah. Yohama is saying, how long have you owned the property? Yeah, that's a good question, but it's not as good as these two. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, what I want to do is get into Will's story. Will's our guest, the guy who set a goal of $1 million in 90 days and achieved it. Okay. Here's the start of his story. Okay. He's an Oklahoma business owner. He wrote down a clear goal. I share with you what that was. He needed space for his own businesses plus tenant income, and he achieved that goal. So basically, Will had two businesses and and they were successful. They were thriving, but he didn't have a building for it, right? So he hired us. We mentored him into finding the property and structuring this deal. And his story is amazing. So he's going to share that with you in about 5 minutes. All right. So it's a $900,000 office building deal, 11,000 square feet. The list price was 1.3. The purchase price was $400,000. So how in the world did Will get a $400,000 discount? That is part of the story that Will share. Okay. The appraisal came in at $1,050,000. So Will walked in with $100,000 in equity. And with the plan that Will executed to today's value is only a couple of years. Today's value is $1.7 million. He's going to break down how all that worked out for him. Okay, so here's part one of the story. I'll go through real quick because I want to bring Will on. Okay, part one is you got to buy a building that fits your business, right? You want to have existing tenants to help carry the bills. So you want to know when the building, what expenses are and how much income you need to at least break even, then cash flow. So we did all that with Will, and then we want to buy a building where we can raise the rents and force the appreciation. And Will did that wonderfully and masterfully through amazing renovations that we'll show you in a second. Okay. Part two of the story is let the numbers tell the truth. Let the numbers tell the story. Okay. Whenever you are working with a deal, right, and you get the income expenses from the seller, I guarantee you from the income and from the expenses, it all tells a story, right? And your job is to get the story and structure the deal around the story. Okay, that's what you want, and that's what we did for Will. Now, and then after that, we make a strong, simple offer. Okay, and again, listed at 1.3. We made an offer of 900,000. Will share with you why he wanted to offer more than 900,000, but I said no. He will share with you why he did that. Okay, why he offered $900,000 and the seller accepted. Okay, and we'll share with you that, and then he'll share with you what almost killed the deal. Right, the seller. Will share with you about the seller, but the seller had messy seller records. Closing day, we had a commission dispute. Will stay calm, and it all worked out under our guidance. It all worked out. Okay, and then the result. Well, before I get to the result, was financing. Now, some of you may be thinking, this is an office building, Peter. Why would you buy an office building? The national vacancy is very high and all this, but in the right area, in the right circumstance, an office building can be the best type of investment. In fact, this deal was so good in the market that the lender gave Will an 80% LTV. That means Will put down only 20%. Amazing, right? Less than you would on a single family home sometimes. They gave him 3 months interest only, 25-year amortization, right? And here's the results. The result was Will got control, he has cash flow, he's building equity, and his businesses are inside, and everything is being paid for by his tenants. Okay. All right. And his cash flow, $7,200 a month. That was a while ago. It's probably higher today. Will share with you how in the first year he saved $43,000 in taxes off the top. Okay. And then again, he bought it for $900,000. It is worth 1.7 after a few short years. Got it? Now, isn't that an amazing story? Right? Put in the chat. Is that an amazing story? Did you enjoy that story? Right? Okay. All right, great. So what I'm going to do next is I want to ask you a question. Okay. Choose your favorite. I want you to just imagine that, you have these two choices. Okay. A or B. And I want to know, which one do you want? Do you want to? So A is a 12-unit property. You're going to live in one. You're going to rent out the other 11. So tenants help carry the building. This is what they call a bigger house hack, right? You're house hacking a large commercial property, or as an owner occupant. Or B, you're going to have your business downstairs and apartments upstairs. Okay, they call this a mixed use property. Again, your business gets to go inside, and the tenants help pay your bills. So let's see what your answers are. All right, I have someone that says A, B, Charles so B, Sean said B, Nicole B, Michael A, all right, Rick B, all right, and okay, the answers are, well, they're coming in. Okay, someone says both. Great, great. The reason why I shared this with you is the more I share with you, the more this will sink in that you can actually do this. Okay, you can actually do this. We have students doing both. Okay, doing both. One on the right-hand side, he is here today going to share his story in 1 minute. All right, okay, okay, all right. Okay, I'm going to share, this is Will right here. Look at this handsome guy here, right? And I always share this, that Will can do this, so can you. So a little bit of background about Will, hardworking business owner. He had a medical wake-up call from overworking. He had a powerful why plus coachable. To me, as a coach, as a mentor, these two combinations, right? This combination of these two, a powerful why and coachable, we can do wonders with that student. Wonders. Okay. He set a bold goal, $1 million property in 90 days. He bought the property, he renovated, he filled the vacancies, raised the rents. It's 100% occupied today. He'll share that whole story with you. Today is worth $1.7 million. All right. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Will to the stage. Let's hear from Will. Let me know when you're there, Will.
Hello, Peter.
All right. I see you there, Will. How you doing?
Doing great, thanks.
Very good. Thank you for joining us, Will. Everyone, if you look in the background, you can see how cool his setting is. And when he first walked in, it looked nothing like that. Okay, nothing like it. So Will did an amazing job. In fact, what I want to share on the next screen is Will's property was featured in a magazine, right? It was done so well, it was featured in the magazine. Okay, and his transformation was incredible. Look at the floors, the table, the design, just phenomenal job there. And there's a picture. Will, is this a conference room right here?
It is. This is a meeting room. Yep.
Meeting room. Okay. Over to the left is a lobby or another sitting area.
Yep.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. And then we have here a little lounge area for people to kind of hang out.
That's
And
right.
then, okay, and then the upper right is another meeting area with the vending machine, a little coffee there, and a big is that a whiteboard?
Yeah, I work with leadership teams, and so I have 16. It's my favorite actually object in this room is 16 feet of whiteboards. It's just a lot of fun to get up there and teach and ideate. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. There's a lobby there. Amazing job. And then there we have the lobby and a cool hallway. Yeah, look at that floor. Whose idea was this, Will?
oh my goodness, her name is Brooke Cook.
Mm,
She's a gifted interior designer that we had the
amazing.
honor to work with. Yeah.
That's just amazing. Yeah, so great job on that, Will. Great job. All right. So everyone, I'll go back and show this picture right here. Where is it here? Yeah, look at that beautiful picture here. So, Will, uh, let's get started on this. So you set this bold goal, right? Buy $1 million property in 90 days, right? Why that goal? And did it feel realistic when you originally set it?
You know, it's an interesting story, and it's been an interesting journey. I would say that who is it? Henry Ford said, "Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right." I
Yeah.
I just started to notice that people who are able to see things in their mind's eye and believe that things are possible tend to be the ones who actually go about accomplishing them.
Yeah.
And so I was on this journey of just starting to realize that, hey, wait a second, it's not just some special people out there that are only, a few select can do it. It's those who are willing to see it and believe that it's possible. And so setting this, you were asking about setting this goal. Um, I to be honest, picked a big round number, and just said that's a substantial, because I could do something much smaller maybe and play it safe, but I just thought, no, like I think that this is worth going for. So my pastor, he would say, aim for the stars, and if you only hit the moon, then you still went somewhere, right? So there was that. And plus, to be completely honest, after seeing your material, after coming into the program, seeing how everything was laid out and how that you were taking the time to mentor and coach and give feedback and expand my perspective, I realized this is more and more doable. The more I thought about it, the more I realized this is actually not just a moonshot. This is something that could really happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Will, your business, you are a business consultant, right? You help businesses grow. So,
Yes, that's one of the
yeah.
things I do. That's right.
Okay. So you're kind of like a high level business coach, right?
Correct.
Okay. So why would a business coach need a real estate coach?
Ah, you know, everybody needs a coach. I have right now. How many coaches do I have right now? I have a financial coach. I have a health coach. Um, I have another I've got four coaches right now, and in this moment, and I can tell you that every significant breakthrough in my life has come through the power of a mentor or a coach. Someone said there are no shortcuts. Well, there kind of is one shortcut. The shortcut is getting a mentor or getting a coach who's been there and done that and can show you the way. And so it's a no-brainer for me to hire someone who has the expertise. It's the ones who can share their journey and their faith. To be honest, I think one of the greatest values that you've brought to me is just the empowering belief that yes, this is possible. Yes, you can do this. Yes, there is a path. If you'll just follow the path and keep the faith and take the steps, you'll get where you want to go. And so to hire a coach just makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, great, great. Thank you for that. And so, well, earlier I talked about every deal has a story, right? So we have the seller story, property story, and your story. Tell us a little bit about the seller, right? The seller story, because that was critical to this deal, making it so good.
Yes, I could tell that the seller had a story before I even met the seller, and that was simply by observing the condition of the property. It
Mm,
was in
mhm.
need. I mean, I don't know if you'll have a chance to show the before images, but this place was not in good shape at all. In fact, in the men's room under the sink counter, there was like this plastic bowl from Walmart or something that was set under a drain. And so every day and the tenants were doing this, the tenants would drain the bowl because the sink would leak into this bowl. So that this is a small example, but I could tell just by the exterior as well, the condition of the building, that someone was not able to give this the diligence that it needed. And so I in fact wound up meeting with him, and he had some other life circumstances, some other challenges going on, and this was just not. He did not have the capacity to handle this property, and he needed to get rid of it.
Yeah. So with that said, Will, the asking price was 1.3, right? How did you get them $400,000 off?
Well, it's in the numbers, right? In a building like this, the value is in the leases. An empty building, commercial building with nothing, and it really has no why. What's the value of it other than maybe tax write-offs? But and so the leases, I found out none of the leases were up to date. Well, there were only three leases, and they weren't up to date. And he knew that the money is in the leases, and the leases weren't signed, and nothing was current. Um, but funny quick story, you were coaching me. You told me, okay, I want you to put together three different offers, kind of a high, medium, and a low offer. And I'm not a low baller. I just, for whatever reason, right or wrong, I just don't enjoy offering someone far below what they're asking for. So I resist that, but because you asked, I put together a low offer of 900,000. And so I got on the phone with you, and we talked through them all. And he said, well, he said to me, well, I want you to go with that $900,000 offer. And I thought, oh, really? Like, I don't even want to ask. It just feels embarrassing to ask. And so I remember I had a yellow sticky note, and I happen to have a mechanical pencil. And you said, here's what you say. And I literally wrote the words on the sticky note. And then you said, after you say these words, be quiet, shut up, don't say anything. You didn't tell me to shut up, but you be quiet. And so I remember I got on the call with the owner, and I read the sticky note, and I shut up, and I didn't say anything, and it felt like an eternity. And all blew my mind. After a moment, he said, yep, that'll work. Let's do it. Oh my goodness, Peter just saved me at least $200,000 just in coaching on what to offer. And so that's how we got there.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about the deal itself. So $900,000 for an office building, right? And at the time, office buildings were people are kind of afraid of them, right? So what made this particular building, what made sense to you to go after this particular office building?
You know, a couple of things. One is for some reason, I just had it in my heart. I just felt like this was what I don't know, I was just drawn to it, attracted to it. And I remember telling you that at the time, and you're like, okay, that's, you go with your gut. And then of course, the other thing is I had a business, and leasing a space somewhere else. So it just makes sense. Why not move my business into my own building and have the other tenants pay the mortgage and pay the bills, and pay off the note for me. So that's why it made so much sense. It was an owner occupied thing as well.
So, Will, the last time you and I spoke a while back, you mentioned that the cash flow was $7,200 a month, right? So, for a beginner watching this tonight, walk us through your plan, right? And how are you going to use the building? Number one, fill the vacancies, raise your rents, and turn it into this wealth building asset. So, walk us through that.
Yeah. And so once again, you've mapped this out brilliantly in all of the coaching materials and in the calls. But so the first step was this building was to me an eyesore. It was just unappealing visually, aesthetically from the curb and inside. So the first thing that we needed to do was renovate. And I renovated the lobby and the bathrooms. And there were three tenants. There's 8 spaces in the building. 3 of those were occupied.
Hmm.
And so I first of all built good relationships with those tenants, let them know I'm here. Let them know that I'm going to be in the building myself. I want to take care of them and the property. And we fixed it up. I mean, and they could see, wow, people are, one of the exterior office entrances had a cracked sidewalk where the ground had heaved, and there was a big lip going, and they stepped over that every day.
Wow.
My goodness.
Wow.
So one of the first things, hire a concrete company, get that fixed, let them know, okay, redid the shrubbery, so put money into getting the building looking nice. And I knew I had to do that. And of course, as soon as those things finished up, I went around to the tenants and said, okay, let's take a look at this lease that expired 3 years ago. And they had seen that I'd put my money where my mouth was and that the building was much nicer. And I got no pushback whatsoever to raise the rents to market rate. In fact, I would argue probably a little higher than market rate in this particular area, just because it's aesthetically so nice.
Yeah. And well, someone was asking pretty much the amount of money that you put in a renovation, was it worth it? Was there an ROI for your renovation? Someone was asking that question.
Well, short and long term, yes, both, because I'm not going to be able to lease this building out. The renovation is what paved the way to get the empty offices filled and what paved the way for the current occupants, current tenants to be willing to pay more uh, to be in their office suites. So
Yeah, yeah, great. And let's kind of go back to the why question, right? So a while back, you shared with me you had a medical wake-up call
yeah,
from overworking or not systematizing. So
yeah.
what did that moment teach you about trading time for money? We talked about that the other day.
Yeah, Dan Sullivan, who's a great coach and who was one of my coaches as well, as with Strategic Coach, he says that 10x is easier than 2x, and it's a mindset
Mm,
shift. It's basically you can't just work harder. It's not just about working harder. You have got to start asking the who, not how question. You have to
mm,
start thinking about what would need to happen if I were to be 10 times wealthier than I am right now. Well, I can't just put in more hours. And so the realization is that yeah, I'm a big fan of systems. I just believe in the cause and effect true reality that everything we're experiencing in the outward world is a result of the systems and processes, and whether it's thoughts and beliefs and what you say in the inward world, meaning inside of you. So uh, I forgot your question already, Peter.
yeah, it was basically what did you what did this moment teach you about trading time for money?
Oh, yes. You, I mean, what I do as a business consultant, there's several hundred of us in the particular group that I'm in, and they also consult business owners. But what I realized, especially there, was that all of them do pretty well financially. But if they're not doing the work, if they're not in the room with their clients, then they're not. And this is true with many professions. If you're a dentist, let's say, or a lawyer, very often, unless you're in the room doing the service, then you're not accumulating wealth.
Yeah,
And so I just realized that that's where I was going. Thanks. That systems and processes and getting right people in the right seats is the answer to creating that kind of freedom.
yeah, yeah. Great answer. Great answer. All right. So the next question, well, before I go there, Will, I want to diverge into your tax savings, right? You saved something like 44,000, 47,000 in taxes. So explain to the audience, with a $900,000 office building, which is it's not super humongous. How did you end up saving the 40 some odd thousand dollars in taxes in 1 year?
Cost segregation, which is
Mm,
on your checklist. And you connected me with the firm who did that. And they came in, they did the study, filled out all the reports. I said, thank you very much, and handed that to my tax accountant. And he entered it with all of the other things that I've got going on. And I asked, and what was funny is I had asked my accountant about it before, and he said, before I did it, and he said, yeah, it's probably going to be a wash. I don't, if I forget what I paid for it, maybe 4 grand or something like that.
yeah,
And he said, you might, you might get that back. And I remember after we did it all, and I said, so how did we do with that? And he said, well, it was about I forget it was mid $40,000 in savings because of the cost segregation study on this particular building.
yeah, yeah. How long did that process take for some of our viewers out there? Or is
Oh
that
man, this is a little while back. It wasn't terribly long, like a couple of weeks maybe.
okay? There you go. So everyone out there, would you spend a couple of weeks hiring a firm and spend $3,000 to $4,000 to save 45,000? I think that's worth it. in my opinion. Taxes,
Absolutely.
yeah. Uh, so Will, kind of a personal question we talked about. How did owning the building change the way you saw yourself? Remember that question? Not just as a business owner, but as a landlord, tenant, and investor. So, what perspective changed?
Yeah, I remember distinctly driving down a big street in my city, commercial area, and looking around and seeing all of these buildings and thinking to myself, wait a second, somebody owns that and they own that. There are people that own these buildings. And I had the thought, well, why not me? Why can't I be that person owning a commercial property? And so that started me on this journey. And the journey, I think, is ultimately a journey of growth. I think that it is really God's will, God's purpose for all people to just simply grow and develop and to mature and to be able to carry more responsibility, to create more impact. And ultimately, it's just a story of growing into my potential, growing into who I can be. And part of that, when you buy a building and you're the owner, you're the landlord, and it just helps you to realize, wow, this is what it's like to be responsible. This is what it's like to be mature. This is what it's like to do your homework, put the work in, be wise, be diligent, and now you've got people who are enjoying the space that you created, first of all. But then, of course, they're also enabling me to create other investments. I can leverage this property into the next, so on and so forth. But it's a journey of growth to me ultimately, and I really believe that's what all of us should be doing.
Great, great. And what's your long-term goal for this building? What's the exit strategy on this property?
This is leverage for another one.
Mm,
I don't know if we have time for this, but one thing that's been really, really cool is that I've got a 14-year-old girl and a 17-year-old son. And I mentioned the building was in rough shape. They were able to come in and do work with me right alongside. I mean, on Saturdays, on evenings, we would be here till 10, 11 o'clock at night, painting,
wow,
changing outlet covers,
awesome.
just, basic maintenance type things. But they were able to watch and see, wow, this is what it's like to own a building. You got to take care of it, right? You got to manage it. You got to be diligent. But they saw that, wow, these other businesses are paying my dad to be able to stay here. And now, not only does that pay off the building, dad's got cash flow to do other things. So I think this is, you asked about what does this do? Well, first of all, I think it's a tremendous legacy and an impact for my kids to be able to watch, to see how this, you asked a question actually on one of those questionnaires, those quizzes,
Mhm.
and they're seeing firsthand that ownership is creating much more freedom than earning, trading your time for money is. But ultimately, this building I absolutely see as leverage for the next deal.
Great, awesome, awesome. Uh, Next question would be, we have quite a few watching, and so this is for the person who's watching this could be thinking, um, Will can do this, but I'm not sure if I can, right? What would you say to that person who about taking the first step? What would you say to that person?
I think that first, see yourself doing it. You really do have to see it in your mind's eye, and um, and then and then take action. I'm I'm what I would consider a quick start, meaning that I don't mind taking risk. I'll jump in and do something and then figure it out. And that served me well in business to a point. But what I realized with commercial real estate was that the numbers get bigger and the
Mhm.
mistakes have bigger consequences. And so I realized that just knowing myself, in commercial real estate in some ways is the Wild West. It's just a couple of people making a deal. There's not a ton of regulation. Like, you just get together with the owner and work things out. And it's on you to perform legal due diligence, financial due diligence, physical, which you have all the checklists, but it's on you to figure that out. And I realized, wow, there's a lot that I don't know here. And although I'm a risk taker, I'm not willing to risk like my family's, big impacting mistakes like that. And so I realized I want to work with someone who's been there and done that. And that brought a tremendous amount of peace to my marriage and my wife, our relationship as well. She, you'll be happy to know that you help her sleep well at night, knowing that you're the one coaching me. Um, so I would say you have to see yourself. You got to believe that it's possible. And I don't know what else to tell you. Like you're showing, here's yet another person who's doing it. Here's another person. Why not you? That's what I would say. The
Yeah.
person who's wondering about the first step, why not you? Why
Yeah.
not you? Because it can be if you'll choose to see it and believe it and just take a simple first step. You can't steer a parked car. So you,
Yeah.
you can't just sit there and expect things to happen. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So take a step.
Yep. So, Will, you are a man of faith, and that's why I really enjoy working with you. We have these types of conversations. So, Will, if you can share with the audience, how did this whole process help you become the man that God meant you to be?
Um, Maturity. One thing I really admire about you is that you're a gifted teacher. First of all, that's easy to see. Anybody who goes on YouTube and watches any of your videos can just, I feel like, absorb easily from you because you have that gift to teach. But beyond that, I see just a tremendous level of excellence, just absolute professionalism, and that is it speaks to me. It challenges me
Mm,
to go higher, and so I feel like they say in Proverbs, this is iron sharpens iron. So does a
mm,
man sharpen
there you go.
something about his countenance of a
Yeah.
friend or something.
Yeah.
So iron sharpens iron is the point there. And I think that I have been so blessed, so privileged to learn from truly great, gifted people who are people of integrity, who are people of excellence. And you check all the boxes there for sure. And so you're a great example to me of what a godly influence and a mentor should be. And so that's that's what I feel like the Lord has intended for all of us. I think that the answer is at arm's length.
Mm, mm,
It's you just have to start looking around. The answer is right there if you'll just lift up your eyes.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Great answer. All right. I have a question for everyone out there. Today I shared with you your why, your potential whys, and now I get you have a feeling what Will's why is well, right? What it is, and it's powerful. And as I mentioned before, when you have a person who knows their why, has a powerful why, and they're coachable, these are the results that you get right here, right? Amazing results. Sometimes these are like divine results, right? What Will has. But what Will did is available to you as well. So I want to ask a question out there. Who wants to do what Will's doing, right? Who has one of the whys that I read today, right? Out of the 10 whys, whose why is powerful enough to want to get help and do what Will has done? So I'm going to give you an opportunity. All right. So I have this poll I want to run here, and let me run it here. All right. There it is. Okay. I want to run this poll here is who would like to learn more about getting mentored by me and my team, right? We are looking for more people to do deals with, just like we did with Will, right? So here's your opportunity. Guess what? You cannot sign up tonight, okay? So this is an exploration of what we do in our company, and you can see the results with Will. So who wants to learn more tonight? More about getting mentored by me and my team, go ahead and click yes, okay? Or you can say yes, but I have some questions. So go ahead and put your answers right in there. All right, so go ahead and do that. And
Peter?
Will, real quick, uh, if you can put your why into one sentence, what would it be?
Oh, what
One
a
one sentence. It doesn't have to be one, just
to serve him well.
serve him well.
That's at the end of the day,
There you go.
what really matters. Have
There
you
you go.
served?
You
I-
got that right. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that.
If I
Okay.
may, Peter, I'd like to, like, I saw somebody comment about, the down payment for this and it's a lot of money. I remember during some of the coaching sessions and the material, you talked about seller carried financing. And I thought to myself, okay, that sounds nice, but no seller is going to want to finance a deal themselves. That sounds silly. People selling something want the money for it. And I was blown away. I was going through the steps, going down the checklist, going through the process, and I had reached out to 20 property owners. And I will tell you that four of those initial, I'm talking about the very first phone call with the property owner, they said to me, I did not prompt anything because I wouldn't go, I would never on a first call say, hey, by the way, are you interested? Because I just think, yeah, that would instantly disqualify you in my mind. So I hadn't said anything. They unprompted said to me, "Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in creative financing, maybe a seller carrying some of the, let me know. I'm open to that." They said that to me, four out of the
Yeah,
20 on the first call.
yeah,
So hadn't even gotten, I mean, I was just starting to ask the questions you had given me to ask. So
yeah,
I just wanted to share that to say that you might be surprised at what is possible, even if you don't have this huge amount of money to put down on something.
yeah, yeah. So you have to take the first step, just like what you did.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you have to do. All right. And then I'm going to ask another question to you all. And that question is there anyone out there who wants to speak with someone tonight? Right. So we have people standing by, and then that can answer any questions you have tonight. So if you want to speak with someone tonight, go ahead and enter now, and then we'll reach out to you. Or if you want to schedule for something later, go ahead and click schedule for later, and we'll schedule it later. Okay. And again, I'll repeat, you cannot sign up tonight. Okay. There's a whole interview process you have to go through. All right. And so go ahead and click your answer there. If you speak with someone tonight, we can schedule for later. Okay. All right. Okay. What I'll do here is I want to share one other thing here. This is for. All right. Let me just end the poll here. Okay. I'm going to share this screen here. All right. Let's see. Make sure I end the poll first. 1 second here. Okay. And all right. Okay, ended the poll. Okay, great. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to share this screen here. All right. Okay, I want to share that. Okay, do you guys see that? All right. All right. So this allows you to schedule something tonight. This is our scheduler. So if you can just go to commercialpropertyadvisors.com/schedule, you're going to come to this page. Okay. commercialpropertyadvisors.com/schedule. Then click your state, right? I'm in California. You click California. You click schedule my call, right? Then what it does, you can set up some dates and times here. So let's say you want to speak with someone Friday. Okay. Here are the times Friday. You can speak with someone Friday at 9 o'clock or 12 o'clock. Then after you click that, you click next, and then you fill in your information and you say schedule event, and then that's it. And then you are scheduled. Okay. You can meet with someone. Okay. So that's simple. All right. So for those of you that are, late to this party here, what I want to do is share it. I'm going to rerun this poll right quick here. All right. And again, this is for those of you that may have missed out a couple minutes ago. If you would like to speak with someone tonight, go ahead and click now. And by the way, the people that I have backstage, they are really amazing people. They're really good people. So you got to get to know them. Okay. Do me a favor. If you do schedule something tonight or later, have your why ready, right? That's so important. Okay. The why measures the motivation. Okay. So have that ready. Okay. All right. So I'm going to end the poll here. All right. And do that. Okay, great. Okay, all right. We're gonna end the party here. So everyone, do me a favor. Could you give Will some love in the chat? Tell Will thank you so much in the chat, please. Will's story was just incredible there. So, Will, there's some love for you in the chat there, Will.
Well, it's
So,
been a tremendous honor to be here with you, Peter. Thank you.
yeah,
And thank you
look
to
at that.
everybody
That's
who's
great.
been on the call.
Yep. Yep. He says you have to give a testimony. This is a living testimony, everyone. Right here. Right here. So there's the chat there. Yeah. Peace signs. Congrats. There you go. All right. So Will, thank you so much for everything you've done here tonight. Thank you for sharing your story and just awesome. And we'll be talking more. And then everyone out there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to segue into a video I would like for you all to watch. Okay, so we're going to segue right now. Those of you that want to speak to someone, you click now. We're going to reach out to you, people standing by. All right. Thanks, everyone. Go ahead and watch this video.